Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Howdy ho, people. Larson Halleck here. Steven Seagal wrote a terrible novel. We're gonna read it. A bit of a fun fact for you people. I was actually going to do a dramatic reading of Linkara's self-insert Mary Sue fanfiction, The Lightbringer, but then I got my hands on The Way of the Shadow Wolves, and in a way they are quite similar in that they're both self-insert fanfictions written by fat tubs of shit in which the main hero is an idealized, muscular Ubermensch version of the author. So here's the cover. Steven Seagal has had the good sense to Photoshop himself so that he doesn't look like the morbidly obese slob that he is. At least if you look at his body in this image, or whoever's body that is. His face has not been photoshopped, so his head still looks like a honey-glazed ham. So if we take a look at the cover, we can see that Steven Seagal is still LARPing as a Native American. His gallant buckskin coat tells you that immediately. Well, you know, that in the title, of course. The Shadow Wolves being a unit in ICE made of Native American tribal police that track and detain illegal immigrants using traditional tracking and woodcraft methods. Traditional methods being interpreted by Mr. Seagal as out-and-out magical powers, as we shall see. The book has two authors, in fact, and a foreword by Joe Arpaio. We got Steven Seagal and Tom Morrissey. Who in the blue hell is Tom Morrissey, you might be asking? Tom Morrissey, besides having the lopsided features of a Rob Liefeld superhero, he is allegedly a singer-songwriter, a former United States Army veteran, a U.S. Marshal, and a lifetime student of Qigong. Oh boy. He also wrote a children's book, which will seem a bit incongruous when we get into the events of this book, but more on that. And so, without further ado, and do remember that the main character in this book is supposed to be an idealized version of Steven Seagal, The Way of the Shadow Wolves, The Deep State and the Hijacking of America, by Steven Seagal and Tom Morrissey, foreword by Sheriff Joe Arpaio. This is a work of fiction, and any resemblance to anyone living or dead is purely coincidental. But always remember that the truth comes in many forms. I strongly identify with this book because in many ways I lived what is portrayed on its pages. During my over 26-year career in DEA, I worked as a young agent in the mountains of Turkey, often on my own, chasing illegal drug merchants as part of the war on drugs. Many times, although unknown to me, I had to work side by side with individuals who were actually sabotaging my efforts and even putting my life in danger. This was because they were on the payroll of the illicit drug underground. I was promoted to regional director of the DEA office in Mexico and Latin America. What I experienced during that time brought me an understanding of the mindset and customs of the drug cartels, which drive those organizations to this very day. As the longest-serving elected sheriff in Maricopa County, Arizona history, I brought my experience to that organization. Arizona today is and has been ground zero concerning illegal immigration and drug running. The deserts of this great state contain the hidden highways used by drug cartels as they pour across our unsecured borders. That flow has slowed under President Trump, however. There are powers known today as the Deep State working against his efforts. The activities of the Deep State operatives are a grave danger to our country because they are working against the effort to secure our borders. It is my belief that books such as this bring a better understanding through fiction. This will help to bring an awakening which has been smothered by the entrenched leftist mindset that dominates the creative media in this country today. I know and have worked with Steven Seagal, who is a law enforcement officer, along with being a international movie star. He has an unusual understanding of the world in which this story takes place. During his time with my office, he proved his skills as a fugitive hunter when he arrested one of our top fugitives within 48 hours after beginning the search for him. He brought us a new and extremely effective way of getting the job done. I first met Tom Morrissey when he was a chief deputy U.S. Marshal for the Federal District of Arizona. We came to be close allies and united our agencies as we fought the good fight against the evolving threat of illegal drugs moving through Arizona. Both of these men bring their experiences to life on the pages of this book. It is my hope that you have not only enjoyed the storyline of The Way of the Shadow Wolves, but you will think about the message portrayed here. It is less than a hair's breadth from the frightening truth of what is actually happening today in America. Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Preface. What if the deep state is not, as some strive to suggest, unelected government officials, generally in the secret intelligence community and the military, who run amok outside the rule of law? What if abusive elements of the federal government are very much a part of the deep state, but they are the best of the servant class, not the masters? What if the deep state begins with one of the world's largest churches and one of the world's most powerful families, who control London and Wall Street as well as the central banks, all privately owned, in every country in the world? What if governments fail to nationalize the central banks, leaving the deep state controlled by one of the world's largest churches and one of its most powerful families with their personally appointed agents throughout the world of finance? What if the greatest crimes against humanity occur at the banking level, where bankers are able to manipulate interest rates and foreign exchange rates, create billions in digital cash without backing, manufacture derivatives that they sell to unwitting investors, and start wars to impact the price of oil and other commodities? What if beneath the bankers are the political parties, generally 2 parties per country, that conspire to exclude all other political parties and independents from power? What if, in the United States, one party controls 17% of the eligible voters and the other party controls 13% of the eligible voters? What if another 20% belong to small parties while fully 50% are independent, no party preference, or not interested? What if many active politicians could be assumed to be compromised? What if they are being bribed or blackmailed by multiple parties, including the secret intelligence services of their own and other countries? What if co-equal to the political parties are the secret intelligence services? What if, in addition to spying on and blackmailing politicians and judges, the secret intelligence services engage in drug running, illicit arms trading, money laundering, and child exploitation, pedophilia, as a means of manipulating specific individuals? What if the mainstream media is a complicit partner with the banking, political, and intelligence communities? What if it communicates to the public a broad range of false information and mixes a broad range of mindless entertainment with outright fake news, while failing to do serious investigative reporting or provide any foundation for citizens designed to be informed about current events, the true cost of policies, and more? What if the universities are also complicit in the deep state narrative? What if most history taught is a lie? What if few realize that the Pulitzer Prize was created to honor the man who invented yellow journalism, the original fake news, in which massive lies were told in order to justify wars? What if universities have refused for decades to actually study and publicize the true cost of specific policies, products, and behaviors because they've been incentivized by commercial interests to overlook the fact that most of what the West produces is both wasteful and harmful to human health and the environment? What if some religions are also complicit in the deep state? What if they are used to comfort and distract the masses, offering a promise of an afterlife intended to reduce demands for economic and social justice in this life? What if, put most simply, the deep state is the totality of the institutions of governance that are used to concentrate wealth and power amongst the 1%, while excluding the 99% from having effective voice and vote? What if the deep state is our common enemy? What if we the people have the power to say no to the deep state? What if we the people have the power to demand election reform? What if we the people have the power to demand that integrity be restored to our government, our economy, and our society? What if this book is dedicated to the Constitution and to the Republic? Will the answers to the preceding be in some ways answered? Chapter 1. Tribal Police, America's Front Line in the Desert. In a darkened Arizona movie theater, a somber male voice provides commentary over the Native American chanting and drumming that plays in the background of a documentary film. Perhaps the greatest morality play in American history is what occurred in the struggle between the Indian tribes and those in the government who were bent on civilizing them. Throughout history, the conquering of the land that once belonged to the Native American tribes, which were actually nations in their own right, by those who migrated here from other parts of the world, was a legacy of cruelty and bloodshed. The history begins with the brutal relocation of many of the 250 different tribes throughout this country, moving to the great contributions of the over 25,000 Native Americans who served with exceptional ability in World War II. The government encouraged the creation of tribal constitutions, out of which came the tribal police departments. Within these departments was the genesis of the great trackers, many of whom were shadow wolves. The closing moments of the film arrive, and the credits start to roll as the narrator continues. Native Americans have an innate and powerful spiritual connection with the earth and its creatures, an understanding of the true nature of all that is on this planet, and how it works in the perfect balance of cause and effect. An effective group within the Native American communities, known as shadow wolves, are part of this perfect balance, and they are the best of the best, with the ability to see what cannot be seen with the eye. They know without having to be taught. They blend with the night. True right from wrong is ingrained in their souls, which makes them able to stand against evil, no matter the cost, to see footprints on the rocks. A man sits alone, quietly watching the film in the back of the darkened theater. He stirs in his seat and comments to himself, "It's about time." Jean Gode rises slowly from his seat and continues viewing as he backs up, slowly making his way out of the theater into the lobby. So that was the preface, foreword, and chapter 1. I'll do a few chapters each time. The book is not particularly long, it's only about 220 pages. And yes, whenever John Goat speaks, I will be doing an impression of Steven Seagal. There's some other funny accents that'll come, and I'll be doing those too. I'm Larson Halleck, and I'm about to take this book to the bank. To the blood bank. And now, a word from our sponsors. Hello, are you a fan of Larson Halleck and the Barbaric Gentleman? Of course you are, otherwise you wouldn't be watching. Would you like to help the channel grow? Would you like to help me out? If so, here's how you can. You can go to patreon.com/LarsonHalleck and join the ranks of... You can also go to www.paypal.me/LarsonHalleck to also donate some money. You can also buy my book. The Patreon, the PayPal, and the link to my book are all found in the video description. You can also follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. I no longer advertise my Gab because Gab sucks. Otherwise, enjoy, keep watching the videos, and spread the word.